John Miller whistled a cheerful tune as he walked through the curved corridors of Horizon Point Space Station. His footsteps echoed on the metal floor while he carried a small animal carrier in one hand and a bag of treats in the other. Inside, the carrier, a golden retriever puppy named Lily, whined softly. "Just a bit longer, girl," John said, peering through the mesh door at the 8-month-old puppy. Her brown eyes looked back at him hopefully. "Once my seminar is done, we'll go play." In the recreation area, John was the station's veterinarian, responsible for the health of all animals aboard Horizon Point, from the laboratory mice to the hydroponics bay's pollinator insects to the various pets owned by crew members. Today he was scheduled to give a talk about proper pet care in space environments. What John didn't know was that his ordinary day was about to become very extraordinary. In the command center of Horizon Point, Security Chief Susan Garcia stared at the view screen with concern. An unknown ship had just dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the station. It was huge, at least 3 times the size of Horizon Point, with a design unlike anything in human records. Its hull was dark gray with red markings that looked like claw marks. "Are they responding to hails?" asked Susan, her eyes never leaving the screen. "Yes, ma'am," replied the communications officer. "They identify themselves as the Vargon Imperium. They're requesting permission to dock and meet with station leadership." Susan's eyebrows rose. Everyone had heard rumors about the Vargons, a species of tall reptilian warriors from the outer systems, but no human had ever officially met one. This would be first contact. "Alert the diplomatic team," Susan ordered, "and inform command. Tell the Vargons they are cleared to dock at Base 7. Meanwhile, John was having trouble. The station's computer system had malfunctioned and several doors had locked automatically. He found himself trapped in the diplomatic wing, far from the education center where he was supposed to give his talk. "Sorry, Lily," John sighed, setting down the carrier. "Looks like we're going to be late." As if understanding, Lily barked once. John smiled and crouched down to peek at her through the carrier door. I know, you're bored. But we can't have you running loose in the diplomatic wing, especially not today." At that moment, John heard footsteps approaching. Many footsteps, heavy and in perfect rhythm. He stood up just as a group of humans in formal uniforms rounded the corner. "What are you doing here?" asked a tall woman at the front. "This section is restricted today." John recognized her as Commander Kate Murphy, the station's military liaison. "I'm trapped," he explained. "The doors malfunctioned and I can't get to the education center. I'm supposed to be giving a seminar on pet care." Commander Murphy frowned. "You'll have to wait. We're about to make first contact with an alien delegation." Before John could reply, an alarm blared. Red lights flashed in the corridor. "What now?" Murphy muttered, tapping her communication device. "Commander," came Susan Garcia's voice. "The Vargon ship is docked, but there's a problem with the airlock mechanism. The delegation is being rerouted to Diplomatic Room 3. Murphy's eyes widened. "But that's right here." John looked down at Lily's carrier just in time to see something impossible. The small latch on the door was sliding open. Somehow, the clever puppy had figured out how to unlock it. "Lily, no!" John lunged for the carrier, but it was too late. With a happy bark, the golden retriever puppy bounded out and down the hallway. John chased after her, ignoring Commander Murphy's shouts. He rounded a corner and froze in his tracks. Ahead was an open doorway leading to Diplomatic Room 3. And through that doorway, John could see the strangest beings he had ever encountered. They were tall, nearly 7 feet, with scaled skin that shifted between green and gray. Their faces reminded John of Earth's monitor lizards, with yellow eyes that had vertical pupils. They wore what looked like armor made of red metal, decorated with symbols John couldn't read. And standing directly in front of the lead alien was Lily, tail wagging, looking up curiously. The alien delegation had gone completely still. The leader, wearing an elaborate headpiece with 3 spikes, slowly reached for a device at its belt. When it spoke, a mechanical voice translated its hissing language into English. "What is this creature?" the alien demanded. John stepped forward slowly. "That's my dog, Lily. She's a puppy, a young dog, I'm very sorry, she got out of her carrier. The alien's eyes narrowed. Dog? We have intercepted your transmissions. We know of your military working dogs. This is a weapon. John blinked in confusion. No. Lily isn't a military dog, she's a pet, a companion. By now, Commander Murphy and her team had caught up. They stood nervously behind John. The alien commander made a sound that might have been a laugh. You cannot deceive the Vargon Imperium, human. We know your kind trains beasts for war. I'm a veterinarian, John explained. A doctor for animals. Lily is just my pet. She's friendly. As if to prove his point, Lily sat down and tilted her head, looking at the aliens with innocent curiosity. The alien commander turned to the others of its kind and spoke in their language. They responded with hisses and growls. When the leader turned back, its posture seemed different, more alert, more interested. I am Commander Zex Thul of the Vargon Imperium, it announced. We have come seeking knowledge of human military capabilities. Perhaps this encounter is fortunate. Commander Murphy stepped forward. I am Commander Kate Murphy, military liaison for Horizon Point. We welcome you in peace. This is not a planned demonstration. Zex Thul ignored her, focusing on John and Lily. You, animal handler, what is this beast's combat function? John tried not to smile. She doesn't have one. She chases balls, chews shoes, and sleeps on my bed. Deception, Zex Thul hissed. We have seen images of your dogs bringing down armed enemies. At that moment, Lily yawned widely, showing her small teeth, then flopped onto her side, exposing her belly. The entire Vargon delegation took a step back. One of them said something that sounded alarmed. Zex Thul's eyes narrowed. A clever tactic, showing the beast's teeth while appearing vulnerable. John sighed. This was going to be difficult. No, she just wants a belly rub. She's friendly. We will observe this creature, Zex Thul announced. Show us its capabilities. Murphy shot John a desperate look. First contact was not going as planned. She can sit, John offered. Lily, sit. The puppy, now standing again, promptly sat down. The Vargons murmured among themselves. Impressive discipline, Zex Thul noted. Continue. John went through Lily's small repertoire of tricks: shake, lie down, and roll over. With each command, the Vargon's reaction grew more intense. Finally, Zex Thul stepped forward. Enough demonstration. We have seen enough to know humans are formidable. This small beast obeys without question, hiding its true power. No, really, she's just... John began. Zex Thul raised a clawed hand. The time for testing is over. The commander turned to its delegation and made a dramatic gesture. Prepare for combat assessment. Unleash the beast. John looked down at Lily, who was now sniffing Zex Thul's boot with interest. You mean this cute pup? He asked. The room fell, silent as the two species faced each other, separated by a simple misunderstanding and one very friendly golden retriever puppy. The diplomatic room fell into an uncomfortable silence. John Miller stood next to his golden retriever puppy Lily, who was now sniffing curiously at Commander Zex Thul's scaled feet. The tall alien leader of the Vargon Imperium stared down at the small dog with a mixture of respect and suspicion. I don't think you understand, John tried again. Lily is not a weapon. She's a pet. Pet? The translator device on Zex Thul's chest plate made a strange buzzing sound. This word does not translate correctly. Commander Kate Murphy stepped forward carefully. Perhaps we should continue this discussion more formally. We have prepared a welcome ceremony for your delegation. Zex Thul ignored her, focusing on John and Lily. You, animal handler, you will explain this beast's combat functions now. John looked to Murphy for help. She nodded slightly, silently telling him to play along. Well, John began slowly, she's trained to fetch things. Fetch? This is a retrieval function? Zex Thul seemed interested. Yes, John said. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small rubber ball. Look, I can show you. The entire Vargon delegation tensed, some even placing clawed hands on what looked like weapons. John froze, suddenly realizing they thought he was drawing a weapon. "It's just a ball," he said quickly, holding it up. "For playing." Playing? Another word that seemed to confuse the translator. John tossed the ball across the room. Immediately, Lily raced after it, her paws skidding on the smooth floor. She grabbed the ball in her mouth and trotted back proudly to John. The Vargons watched in complete silence. Then they began to speak among themselves in their hissing language, making gestures toward Lily. "Most impressive tactical retrieval," Zexthul finally said. "The beast moves with great speed and returns the object without damage." Just then, the diplomatic room door slid open, and a human man with a small device in his ear entered. He looked at the scene with confusion. "Sorry, I'm late," he said. "I'm Lieutenant Alan Wilson, Communications Specialist. I was analyzing your language patterns." He nodded respectfully to the Vargon delegation. Commander Murphy looked relieved. "Lieutenant Wilson has been studying what we know of Vargon language," she explained to John quietly. Zexthul addressed Wilson directly. "Your animal handler demonstrates the capabilities of this war beast. We are impressed." Wilson's eyebrows rose slightly as he looked at Lily, who was now sitting obediently beside John, tail thumping against the floor. "War beast?" Wilson repeated. "Oh, there's a misunderstanding. In our translator, the Vargon word for companion, animal, is being incorrectly processed as war beast." John felt hopeful. "Can you explain to them what a pet is?" Wilson nodded and began speaking in the Vargon language, making complicated hand gestures. The aliens listened, occasionally interrupting with questions. John noticed that Wilson seemed to be struggling to explain certain concepts. When the conversation ended, Zexthul turned back to John. "We understand now. This is not merely a war beast. It is a genetically engineered companion that forms a psychic bond with its handler." "What?" "No," John said. "That's not right either." But Zexthul continued. "Your kind has created these creatures to serve you, to fight for you when needed, and to provide companionship. A most efficient design." A female Vargon stepped forward. She was shorter than the others, with scales that had a slightly bluish tint. "I am Sub-Commander Kraz," she said through her translator. "I wish to examine this creature." Before John could respond, Lily decided to be friendly. She approached Kraz and sat in front of her, then offered her paw, as John had taught her to do when meeting new people. Kraz stared at the extended paw. "What is this gesture?" "She wants you to shake her paw," John explained. "It's a greeting." Hesitantly, Kraz extended one clawed hand. Lily placed her soft paw in it. The Vargon sub-commander remained perfectly still during this interaction. "The beast trusts me," Kraz said, sounding surprised. "She's friendly to everyone," John said. "That's how dogs are, especially golden retrievers." Another human entered the room, a woman in a white lab coat. She carried a tablet and looked flustered. "I'm Dr. Olivia Jones, xenobiologist," she introduced herself. "I was called to help with translation issues." "Perfect timing," Commander Murphy said. "We're having trouble explaining the concept of pets to our Vargon visitors." Dr. Jones approached and bowed slightly to the Vargon delegation. "May I ask, do you have animals on your world that are not used for food or labor?" The Vargons conferred briefly. Zexthul answered, "All creatures serve a purpose. Those that cannot serve are not kept." "I see," Dr. Jones nodded. "Humans have a different relationship with some animals. We selectively bred certain species over thousands of years to live alongside us. We call these animals pets. They provide companionship, but aren't expected to work or be eaten." The Vargons seemed deeply confused by this concept. One of them asked a question that the translator rendered as, "What is the strategic advantage?" Dr. Jones thought for a moment. "Studies show pets reduce stress hormones in humans and increase positive brain chemicals. They may have helped our ancestors survive by providing warmth, protection, and hunting assistance. Now we keep them primarily because we enjoy their company." Zexthul's eyes narrowed. "So these are psychological support creatures?" "In a way, yes," Dr. Jones agreed, looking pleased at the progress. John knelt down to pet Lily, who leaned into his touch happily. We just like having them around. They're part of our families. This statement caused another flurry of discussion among the Vargans. Their translator devices couldn't keep up, but John caught phrases like strange custom and tactical bonding. Zexthul finally addressed the humans again. We wish to observe more of these pets. All Vargan ships carry bioscanners that detected many small life forms aboard your station. We assume they were food animals or test subjects. Are they all these pets? Commander Murphy explained. We have many animals on the station. Some are pets, others help with research or maintenance of ecosystems. We have a small garden area with bees for pollination, lab mice for medical research, and various pets belonging to crew members. Take us to see these creatures, Zexthul demanded. We must understand this aspect of human culture. Murphy looked uncertain but nodded. We can arrange a tour of the station's biological areas. As they prepared to leave the diplomatic room, Subcommander Kraz approached John again. Your beast, Lily, she serves no function beyond companionship. Well, she makes me happy, John said with a smile. That's enough. Kraz seemed to consider this deeply. Fascinating. On our world, such a creature would be considered useless. Maybe that's why our species are so different, John suggested gently. The group left the diplomatic room and headed toward the station's central hub. John noticed several Vargans watching Lily intently as she trotted alongside him. One of them was recording her movements with a small device. I don't think they believe us about pets, Lieutenant Wilson whispered to John. They seem convinced there's some hidden military purpose. That's ridiculous, John whispered back. What strategic value could a puppy possibly have? They had no idea that aboard the Vargan ship, analysis of Lily's DNA was already underway, as the aliens sought to understand what they believed was humanity's secret biological weapon program. The tour of Horizon Point Station had gone reasonably well for the first hour. Commander Zexthul and the Vargan delegation followed Commander Murphy through various sections, observing the station's operations. John Miller walked alongside them, with Lily, who had become the center of attention for the aliens. Everything changed when they reached the hydroponics bay. The large room was filled with plants growing under special lights. The air was warm and moist. Small insects buzzed among the leaves, pollinating flowers. A gentle spray of water misted over certain sections of plants. The moment they entered, the entire Vargan delegation stopped. Their scaled bodies went rigid. What is this? Zexthul asked, voice sounding strange through the translator. This is our hydroponics bay, Commander Murphy explained. We grow fresh food here. John noticed the Vargans were staring at the water sprayers with what looked like fear. Lieutenant Wilson leaned close to John and whispered, I think the Vargans don't like water. Their home world might be very dry. Suddenly, Lily saw something interesting. A small maintenance robot moving between the plant beds. With a playful bark, she pulled free from John's loose grip on her leash and ran toward it. Lily, come back, John called. But the puppy was excited and didn't listen. As Lily ran, she passed through one of the water sprays. The water droplets spattered in all directions, some landing on the nearest Vargans. Their reaction was immediate and extreme. The aliens hissed loudly and backed away, some drawing weapons. Sub-Commander Kraz made a sound that the translator didn't catch, but it clearly conveyed distress. Danger! Zexthul shouted. The beast attacks with water. No, no, John said quickly. She's just playing. She's not attacking anyone. But the damage was done. The Vargans retreated from the hydroponics bay, pushing past crew members in their haste. Commander Murphy tried to calm the situation but found herself ignored as the aliens spoke rapidly among themselves. Everyone stay calm, Commander Murphy ordered. Lieutenant Wilson, explain that this was an accident. Wilson tried speaking in the Vargan language, but Commander Zexthul cut him off with a sharp gesture. Your beast weapon is more advanced than E. We realized, Zexthul said. It knew our weakness. What weakness? John asked, confused. The water, Dr. Jones whispered to him. They seem to have a severe aversion to it. A new human joined the group, a man in a maintenance uniform who looked concerned. "What's going on?" he asked. "I'm Paul Rodriguez, maintenance supervisor. The system says there's an emergency in hydroponics." Before anyone could answer, Lily returned to John's side, wet and happy. Several Vargons stepped back when they saw her. "The situation is under control, Mr. Rodriguez," Commander Murphy said. "We had a cultural misunderstanding with our visitors." Paul nodded, but looked doubtful as he observed the tense aliens. Zexathul addressed Commander Murphy directly. "We require the beast for study. It must be determined if this was an attack." "Study?" John repeated, alarmed. "You can't take Lily. This is not negotiable," Zexathul insisted. "The creature will be returned if deemed non-threatening." Commander Murphy stepped forward. "I'm afraid that's not possible, Commander Zexathul. Under our laws, pets are considered property of their owners. We cannot hand over Dr. Miller's dog without his consent." The standoff might have continued, but it was interrupted by an announcement over the station's communication system. "Attention, all personnel. Due to a systems malfunction, some areas of the station will experience temporary lockdowns. Please remain where you are until further notice." The doors to the corridor sealed shut with a hiss. "Perfect timing," muttered Commander Murphy. "Paul, can you override the lockdown?" Paul shook his head. "Not from here. We need to access a maintenance terminal." John noticed a small vent near the floor, partially hidden behind some plants. It was an air duct entrance, just large enough for a person to crawl through. More importantly, it was large enough for a puppy. He needed to protect Lily from the Vargons, who clearly intended to take her by force if necessary. An idea formed in his mind. "Commander," John said to Murphy, "I think I should take Lily somewhere safe until this misunderstanding is resolved." Murphy understood immediately. She nodded slightly and turned to engage Zexathul in conversation, drawing the alien commander's attention away from John. John whispered to Paul, "Can you create a distraction? I need to get Lily away from here." Paul looked uncertain, but nodded. He walked to a control panel and began pressing buttons. "Strange," he said loudly. "The environmental controls are malfunctioning too." As everyone looked toward Paul, John quickly removed Lily's leash and guided her toward the vent. "Go on, girl," he whispered. "Go exploring." Lily, always eager for an adventure, slipped into the vent and disappeared. John felt a mixture of relief and worry. The station's air duct system was extensive. Lily could end up anywhere. But at least she was away from the Vargons for now. Just as John straightened up, the lights in the hydroponics bay flickered and went out. Emergency lighting came on, bathing everything in a soft blue glow. "What's happening?" Commander Murphy demanded. "Must be part of the malfunction," Paul said, sounding convincingly concerned. When the main lights came back on 30 seconds later, Zexathul immediately noticed Lily's absence. "Where is the beast?" the alien commander demanded. John tried to look innocent. "She must have run off during the darkness. She gets scared sometimes." Zexathul didn't seem to believe him. "Find the creature immediately. It may be dangerous loose." "In your station?" A new voice joined the conversation. "What's this about something dangerous loose on my station?" A stern-looking woman in a command uniform had arrived. According to her badge, she was Commander Kate Murphy's superior officer. "Admiral Peterson," Murphy said, "we have a situation with our Vargon guests." "I see," said Admiral Diana Peterson, looking over the assembled group. "Would someone care to explain why I'm getting reports of armed aliens searching the station?" Indeed, John now noticed that several Vargon soldiers were missing from the group. "My warriors search for the beast. Weapon," Zexathul stated. "It must be contained." Admiral Peterson's expression hardened. "No unauthorized searches will be conducted on my station, Commander Zexathul. Call your people back immediately." But it was too late. The station's alert system activated with a blaring alarm. "Security alert in Docking Bay 3, announced the computer voice. "Unknown life form detected in critical systems area." John's heart sank. Somehow Lily had made her way through the air ducts to the docking area, where the Vargon ship was attached to the station. "The beast seeks to infiltrate our vessel," Zexthul declared, sounding almost triumphant. "This proves its purpose as a spy creature." "She's not a spy, she's just lost," John protested. But the Vargons were already moving toward the exit, intent on returning to their ship. The humans followed quickly, concerned about what might happen if the aliens reached Lily first. As they rushed through the station's corridors, John whispered to Lieutenant Wilson, "I have to get to her before they do." Wilson nodded grimly. If she's entered their ship, this could become an interstellar incident. The Vargons might see it as a deliberate intrusion. John had never imagined his sweet puppy could cause a diplomatic crisis. Now he had to find a way onto a potentially hostile alien vessel to rescue her before things got even worse. John Miller reached Docking Bay 3 out of breath. The large metal doors connecting Horizon Point Station to the Vargon ship stood open. Vargon soldiers moved quickly between the two vessels, their scaled bodies tense with purpose. "Commander," Zexthul stood near the entrance, giving orders in the hissing language of the Vargons. "I need to get on that ship," John told Lieutenant Wilson. "Lily is in there somewhere." Wilson looked doubtful. "They won't let you board, not now that they think she's some kind of spy weapon." John watched as Admiral Peterson and Commander Murphy approached Zexthul. They spoke in tense voices about respecting boundaries and proper diplomatic procedures. The Vargon commander seemed unimpressed. "The beast invaded our territory," Zexthul said. "By your own laws, we have the right to capture intruders." Admiral Peterson's face showed her frustration. "A lost puppy is hardly an invader, Commander. We request permission to send one person aboard to retrieve her." "Denied," Zexthul replied immediately. "The creature will be contained and studied. If it proves harmless, we may return it." John couldn't wait any longer. He noticed a human woman working at a nearby computer terminal. "Excuse me," he said, approaching her. "Can you help me?" The woman looked up. Her badge identified her as Nicole, Washington AI specialist. "What do you need?" she asked. "I need to find my dog," John explained quickly. "She's lost somewhere on the Vargon ship. Can you use the station's sensors to locate her?" Nicole glanced at the arguing officials, then back to John. "I can try. The station's systems can detect life signs, but I'm not sure if they extend to the Vargon vessel." She typed rapidly on her keyboard. "What kind of dog is it?" "A golden retriever puppy," John said. "Her name is Lily." Nicole nodded and continued working. After a minute, she pointed to her screen. "There's a small life form moving around in the lower levels of their ship," she said. "It's the right size for a puppy, but it's in a restricted area, some kind of secure chamber." John looked at the screen. A small dot moved around a room deep inside the alien vessel. "Can you guide me to her?" John asked. Nicole hesitated. "You're planning to sneak aboard, aren't you?" John didn't answer, which was answer enough. "Look," Nicole said quietly, "there's a maintenance connection between our systems and theirs, for power regulation. It's not meant for people, but someone your size might fit." She pointed to a small hatch near the floor on the far side of the bay. "That leads to the connection, but it's dangerous, and if they catch you—" "I have to try," John said. "Lily needs me." Nicole sighed but nodded. "I'll monitor your position from here and communicate through your earpiece. Take this." She handed John a small communication device, which he placed in his ear. "Thank you," John said sincerely. While the officials continued their heated discussion, John made his way carefully around the edge of the docking bay. No one noticed as he reached the small hatch, opened it, and crawled inside. The maintenance tube was narrow and dark. John crawled forward, guided by Nicole's voice in his ear. "Straight ahead for 10 meters, then turn right," she instructed. "You'll reach a junction. The left path leads to their ship." John followed her directions, moving as quietly as possible. The metal tube felt cold against his hands and knees. Finally, he reached a point where the design of the tube changed. The smooth human engineering gave way to something more angular and rough, the Vargon ship. "You're entering their vessel now," Nicole warned. "I can't track you precisely once you're aboard. Their internal sensors are different from ours." "Just tell me how to find Lily," John whispered. Based on the last reading, go down 2 levels. And head toward the center of the ship, Nicole said. There's a large chamber there. That's where the small life sign was detected. The communication began to break up. Be careful. Signal's weakening. Good luck. Then silence. John was on his own. He continued through the narrow passages until he found an exit. Carefully, he pushed open a small panel and peered out. He was in a dimly lit corridor with reddish walls. No Vargans were in sight. John slipped out and closed the panel behind him. He looked around, trying to figure out which way would lead down. He spotted what looked like a ladder built into the wall at the end of the corridor. Moving quietly, he made his way to it and began climbing down. 2 levels later, John found himself in a wider corridor. He could hear Vargan voices in the distance. Following his instincts and Nicole's last instructions, he headed toward what he thought was the center of the ship. John turned a corner and froze. Ahead was a Vargan soldier standing guard outside a large door. There was no way around. He would have to find another route. As John started to back away, he heard a familiar sound, a soft bark. Lily was behind that door. The Vargan guard heard it too. The alien tilted its head and made a curious sound, then opened the door and went inside. John took a chance. He moved quickly to the door before it closed completely and peered through the crack. What he saw surprised him. The room was large and filled with strange equipment. In the center was Lily, not in a cage as John had feared, but sitting comfortably on what looked like a cushion. The Vargan guard approached her, knelt down, and offered her what appeared to be food from its hand. Lily took the treat gently and wagged her tail. The Vargan made a sound that John realized was a form of laughter. You are a strange creature, the Vargan said, its translator active. Not fearsome at all. John pushed the door open wider. She's friendly to everyone. The Vargan spun around, reaching for a weapon, but seeing John, it hesitated. You are her handler, the alien said. It wasn't a question. I'm her friend, John corrected. Her companion. My name is John Miller. The Vargan seemed to consider this. I am Warrior Thex. I was assigned to guard the beast, but... It looked at Lily, who was now happily chewing on the treat. It does not seem dangerous. She's not, John assured him. She's just a puppy, a young dog. We keep them as companions, not weapons. Thex tilted its head. This concept is difficult for Vargans to understand. All relationships must have purpose, function. What function does this creature serve? John thought about how to explain. She makes me happy. She provides friendship. Friendship without purpose, Thex repeated slowly. This is not a Vargan concept. John stepped closer to Lily, who jumped up happily when she saw him. May I take her back? She doesn't belong here. Thex seemed torn. Commander Zexathul has ordered the beast studied. He believes it is a secret weapon. But you don't believe that anymore, do you? John asked. Thex looked down at Lily, who was now leaning against the alien's leg, looking up hopefully for another treat. I have been observing this creature for some time, Thex admitted. It shows no aggression. It seems happy. The moment was interrupted by the door sliding fully open. Commander Zexathul stood in the entrance, eyes widening at the scene before him. What is this? The commander demanded. The human infiltrator. Seize him. 2 Vargan guards appeared behind Zexathul. John stepped back, putting himself between them and Lily. Commander, I can explain, Thex began, but Zexathul cut him off with a sharp gesture. You have failed in your duty, Warrior Thex. The human has compromised you somehow. Zexathul pointed a clawed finger at John. You are now a prisoner of the Vargan Imperium, human. You have infiltrated our vessel, an act of war. John realized he had made a terrible mistake. In trying to rescue Lily, he might have just started an interstellar conflict. John Miller stood in the center of the Vargan ship's command chamber. Commander Zexathul sat on a raised chair that looked like a throne, glaring down at the human. Around them, Vargan officers worked at strange consoles, occasionally glancing at the prisoner. Lily sat beside John, seemingly unconcerned by the tense situation. Your infiltration of our vessel is a serious offense, Zexthul said. Explain your purpose. I came for my dog, John replied simply. I was worried about her. Zexthul's eyes narrowed. You risked war between our species for this creature? John nodded. She's important to me. The alien commander made a gesture. John couldn't interpret. This behavior is puzzling. No Vargon would risk so much for a simple animal. That's the difference between our cultures, John said. Humans form strong bonds with their pets. They become part of our families. Zexthul leaned forward. Is this why your kind engineered these creatures? To create artificial family bonds? John sighed. This misunderstanding seemed impossible to correct. We didn't engineer dogs. We domesticated them over thousands of years. They evolved alongside us. Before Zexthul could respond, the chamber door slid open. Warrior Thex entered, followed by a much older Vargon. This elder had pale green scales and walked with a slight limp. Commander, Thex said, bowing. Elder Gorks requested to see the human and his creature. Zexthul seemed surprised. Elder? Why would you interest yourself in this matter? The old Vargon approached slowly, his eyes fixed on Lily. I have reviewed the data on this creature. It matches ancient records from our first explorations of the galaxy. John watched curiously as Elder Gorks knelt down with some difficulty to examine Lily. The puppy wagged her tail and sniffed the old alien's hand. What records? Zexthul demanded. Before the Great Drought forced us to become warriors, our ancestors were explorers, Gorks explained. They encountered many species, including one that kept smaller creatures as companions without purpose. He looked up at Zexthul. We called them the Gentle Ones. A strange silence fell over the chamber. John noticed many Vargons seemed uncomfortable with this information. The ancient records were deemed irrelevant, Zexthul said dismissively. The old ways were weak. Perhaps, Elder Gorks replied, standing up with effort. Or perhaps we lost something valuable when we focused only on strength and purpose. At that moment, a Vargon officer approached Zexthul and spoke urgently in their language. The commander's expression changed to one of alarm. Human vessels approach, Zexthul announced. Many of them. They have weapons ready. John wasn't surprised. By now, Horizon Point would have reported his kidnapping to Earth's fleet. Let me talk to them, John suggested. I can explain this was all a misunderstanding. Zexthul considered this. You would speak for us? Why? Because I don't want a war either, John said honestly. And because I think our species could learn from each other. The commander hesitated, then nodded. Open communications. A large screen activated at the front of the chamber. Admiral Peterson's face appeared, looking stern and worried. Vargon, vessel, this is Admiral Diana Peterson of Earth Fleet. Return our citizen immediately or face consequences. Admiral, John called out, stepping forward where she could see him. I'm okay, there's been a misunderstanding. Peterson looked surprised. Dr. Miller, are you being coerced? No, ma'am, John assured her. I came aboard voluntarily to retrieve Lily. The situation is complicated but not hostile. The Admiral's expression remained suspicious. Commander Zexthul, do you intend to release Dr. Miller? Zexthul moved into view of the screen. The human infiltrated our vessel. By law, this is an act of aggression. I sent no one to infiltrate your ship, Peterson countered. If Dr. Miller entered without permission, he acted alone and without authorization. John realized things were still tense. He needed to find a way to defuse the situation. Looking down at Lily, he had an idea. Commander Zexthul, John said, quietly. You wanted to understand the purpose of pets like Lily. May I demonstrate? The Vargon commander gave a curt nod. John turned to face the screen again, making sure both Admiral Peterson and Zexthul could see what he was doing. Lily, come, John called gently. The puppy trotted to his side immediately. He knelt down and petted her. Good girl. Lily wagged her tail happily, then rolled onto her back, exposing her belly. John rubbed it. and the puppy squirmed with pleasure. This is the relationship between humans and dogs, John explained. Trust, affection, joy. He looked at Zexthul. No strategic purpose. No weapons function, just companionship. Elder Gork stepped forward. Commander, I believe we have misinterpreted human culture. Their bond with these creatures is as I described from the ancient records. It is not a military strategy. John noticed warrior Thex moving closer. The Vargan soldier seemed fascinated by the interaction between John and Lily. Commander, Thex said suddenly, I wish to report something. Zexthul turned to his subordinate. Speak. While guarding the creature, I experienced a feeling, Thex said, sounding uncertain. When it approached me without fear, when it accepted food from my hand, I felt pleased. A murmur ran through the Vargan officers. Such an admission seemed unusual for their culture. Elder Gorks nodded. Yes, this is what the ancient records described. The gentle ones called it friendship, a connection without purpose or advantage. Zexthul looked troubled. He stared at Lily, then at the screen showing Earth's waiting fleet, then back to John. Our analysis shows this creature has no weapons capabilities, he finally admitted. It seems I was incorrect in my assessment. Admiral Peterson's expression softened, slightly. Then perhaps we can return to diplomatic discussions rather than military confrontation. Yes, Zexthul agreed. The human and his creature may return to your station. We will continue talks. 2 hours later, John sat in Horizon Point's recreation area, watching as an extraordinary scene unfolded. A delegation of Vargans, including Elder Gorks and Warrior Thex, were being introduced to various pets brought by the station's crew members. A small cat sat cautiously on Gorks's lap. The Elder Vargan stroked its fur with gentle claws, looking amazed at the animal's purring response. Nearby, Warrior Thex threw a ball for Lily, his usually stern face showing what John now recognized as pleasure when the puppy returned with it. Commander, Murphy approached John, looking relieved. Well, that was close. We nearly had an interstellar incident over a puppy. John smiled. Sometimes the smallest things make the biggest difference. Admiral Peterson wants to establish a cultural exchange program, Murphy continued. The Vargans seem particularly interested in learning more about our relationship with animals. John watched as Lily licked Thex's hand, causing the warrior to make the hissing sound John now knew was Vargan laughter. I think they're already learning, he said. From across the room, Commander Zexthul observed everything with a thoughtful expression. When a crew member approached with a small carrier, the commander tensed visibly. This is a kitten, the human explained, opening the carrier to reveal a tiny orange cat. She was born in the station's veterinary center just last week. Zexthul stared at the small creature with a mixture of suspicion and curiosity. Slowly, with great caution, he extended one clawed finger toward it. The kitten batted at his claw playfully, then rubbed its head against his scaled hand. The commander went completely still. It trusts me, he said, sounding amazed, even though I am not its handler. That's what pets do, John explained, walking over to join them. They offer friendship freely. Zexthul carefully picked up the kitten, holding it with surprising gentleness. Your species is strange, John Miller. You find strength in gentleness and purpose in companionship without function. Maybe that's something both our species can learn from, John suggested. Elder Gorks joined them, the cat still purring on his lap. The ancient records speak of a time when Vargans understood such things. Perhaps it is time we remembered the old ways. As John watched Lily play with her new alien friends, he thought about how something as simple as a puppy had prevented a war and started a friendship between two very different species. Sometimes the smallest creatures could teach the biggest lessons about understanding and connection, lessons that even mighty spacefaring civilizations needed to learn.